Live from Atlanta, the SRA series continues their new run with the Gen 4 cars. Welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway, not the Echo Park that you may know, but the classic, tricky, very, very, very fast tri-oval. I'm Howie Burrows and I'm joined by Lucas Moody in the booth to bring on week 2 of the schedule with these drivers. An exciting new car for these guys. They've been doing a lot of ARCA running in the past. Now they have something with a whole lot more power. Only their second week out on the road. They've got a lot to get used to, but the racing is nothing but thrilling here.
Yeah, and you said it perfectly, Howie. This is not the Echo Park that we've grown so used to, the drafting track, the plate track, where you're flat out the entirety of qualifying and for a lot of the race. No, this is old Atlanta. Brakes are necessary. It's an intermediate track once again, compared to stuff like Texas, stuff like Charlotte, and maybe even Michigan if it was just a little bit shorter. So these drivers probably haven't driven on this version of Atlanta in a long, long while, so I'm curious how they're going to be able to adapt to it today.
Drivers just wrapping up their qualifying laps right now on the road, in fact. Only one race into the championship, so it's still wide open. Worth noting that these cars are particularly drafty on the current model. Still a few more weeks of this to go before iRacing make significant changes to the way these cars handle. So it's going to be a very strange sort of hybrid race. You're very right. It's not a flat-out super speedway sprint, but it's going to be faster than anything you've seen on the circuit, and that's going to lead to a very, very, very unusual character. We've hopped in just in time for qualifying to end and for us to transition straight into the starting grid. So we'll be able to catch up on how the championship's been doing and how the last race did as we warm up. But for now, we've got a grid to immediately get running with. On pole position will be Cody Gibson for this round, and he's lined up alongside Ted Rickich. Jared Duda lines up in P3 next to William McKellar IV. On the third row, Aaron Raymond is in 5th next to Jim Duda in the 53 car, and James Yerger is in P7 next to Aaron May. On the 5th row, we have Michael Gudger and Tanner Ma.
And then starting in 11th will be your championship leader, Zane Bailey, in that 20 machine alongside Mark Arthur. Just behind them in 13th will be Paul Witt and Jeff Gilmore. And then qualifying in 15th position is that 29 machine of Michael Allen, lining up alongside the 38 of Thomas Lane Jr. And then starting the race in 17th will be Kyle Wellman, and in 18th is Noah Swafford. And then to round out your top 20, it's Larry Bell in 19th, and it's John Bawada Jr. in 20th.
Only 3 cars on the back. Joshua Burke for full performance in the 21. Cody Witt in 22. And Jim Kollmensberger in the 23 car. That makes a quick grid. That makes a quick run. 100 laps of Atlanta anticipated to last around 50 minutes if we stay green, but this pack always races close, and these cars race it closer as it stands. Tyre wear hugely demanding on this track. What else does this track really test from drivers?
Yeah, it's also going to test those brake usage as well. You know, you talk about the tire wear, a lot of that comes down to how hard you are on and off of that brake pedal. The harder you're on that brake pedal, you know, the tires, when they slow down so quickly, if you're really aggressive on that brake pedal, it's going to put a lot of wear into not only those rears, but also those front tires. So it's really how well can these drivers manage their right and left feet, and how easy can they be on this gas and brake pedals.
Drivers are getting ready to finish off their briefing as it stands. They like to take a little bit of time on the grid to make us wait it out. So appreciate your patience, and I'm sure they'll appreciate ours as well. Of a tough track to begin the first week, it's something far more traditional, one of iRacing's preserved scans on the surface. 2008 Atlanta, back when it bore that name indeed. This always has been a bit of a Gen 4 classic. I loved taking the old Gen 4 here because it was very, very deceptive as a mile and a half, but it was not the sort of Charlotte that you can do with your eyes closed. It was brutal, and it would spit you out if you treated it badly. These cars are tighter than the previous iteration of the Gen 4 car. Wider wheelbase for the drivers to use. They do not just slide around like an ARCA car, given hundreds more horsepower. But they are still an absolute handful. Imagine the tires is as important as ever.
Yeah, and you talk about these NASCAR classics. That brings me back to just last week. You know, we had that race at Daytona, which, you know, we talked about how this field doesn't normally stay green, but these drivers did a really nice job of getting really good green flag runs at Daytona. If I remember correctly, we only had about 2 or 3 cautions. My memory does not serve me that well. So I'm hoping we can get, you know, similar result here today. Of course, it's going to be Atlanta. It's going to be a little trickier, but I am going to hope for some long green flag runs.
Sometimes maybe green, sometimes maybe yellow, in the words of maybe an immortal soccer coach, and just adapted a little bit to fit the new league. Very different character of racing to the classic ARCA as well, of course. Way less drafty around the tracks, way less pack racing than you used to, and very, very, very much skill testing on the track. Still a couple yet to still finish their pre-race briefing. Ted Rojkic has taken an end-of-line penalty. He was going to line up on the P2. Michael Allen's also requested one to run at the back. So we'll be seeing a little bit of shuffling of the order, but drivers do like to take their time and be patient, making sure they're all well briefed before they hit the track. It'll be 1 to green once the cars get going. His final position starting to fill in now. Just a couple more to go. I'm not going to name names, but it's the what gap you can see on the grid right now that is yet to take in their spot. League admin business, very, very big business. Let me tell you that. Very difficult business as well. Hundreds of laps of Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's gonna go long, and when it does, it's gonna be very, very demanding. At weather on the track, 93 on the track surface. This place can get hot, and it can get very, very demanding and stressful to the tires.
Yeah, and 93 degrees Fahrenheit, that's kind of one of those temperatures where it's not too hot, where you're going to be really, really loose coming out of corners and just really not going to have a lot of grip. But it's also not too cold, where you can just kind of drive around the thing with, you know, there's so much grip on the track, you can just drive around it with not a care in the world. 93 degrees Fahrenheit, that's a really good track temp for just right in the middle. You know, it's going to be, you still have to turn the car in. It's not going to be easy. This track's not perfectly cold, but it's also not going to be too difficult. You know, you're not going to be losing your rears out of every corner like you would on a super hot track. So I do like seeing the track temp before the race, because that 93 degrees Fahrenheit gives us a lot of info on how these drivers have to drive their cars.
It's likely only going to get hotter and hotter with the cars running around the track, although at 4 p.m. it is in the later hours of the day. We're well past the noon. Of course, these SRA series run every week, so Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. All on Green Flag TV as ever, so make sure you stay subscribed to catch this and plenty of other exciting series that hit the channel. Now everybody's here, and now they really are making us wait. No one's missing. No one's missing. No one's trying to catch me out here. 23 cars. I mean, I hope the pace car driver's having fun. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, you know, look at that stern look on his face. He's got his headset on. He's waiting for it. He's like, please let me get out of this car. It's probably hot in there. You know, a hot day in Atlanta, as we know. And I'm sure he wants to get out of that car, hop into his ice bath, and there he goes, Howie, right on his way.
Love the view inside this little thing. How disrespectful for him to get past. We've done a lot of our pre-race talk and our pre-race prep already. Only one race done in the championship so far, and it was Daytona. It's quite the wild card. This week, it's going to be the first one that really test your ability to run an intermediate. This season has all sorts of tracks on the schedule down the road, including some tricky ones that are possibly going to be a real struggle. After this, we go to Chicagoland, Charlotte, Homestead, Dover, Michigan Gateway, Talladega, Pocono, Richmond, and Vegas for the finale. It's a certified lineup of classics, and if you want to talk classics, nothing like the old Atlanta Motor Speedway. Drivers sorting themselves up now. Changes in the rows with the end of lines means that Cody Gibson is still going to start in P1, and Ted Redkick starting all the way at the back there. That means that I believe William McKellar, the fourth, is going to take that front row in the 75 car. Pace car's getting ready to pull into the pit lane, and how big are those moves do you think going to be off straight off the bat?
Yeah, I assume they're going to be very, very aggressive here off the start. You know, since this is the start of the race, there's a lot you can make up, but let's see what they do here.
And the green flag waves in the air at Atlanta. 3, even 4 wide already, and that wasn't going to end well. William McKellar is turned, and we're already yellow on the first turn of our first intermediate of the season. I didn't know you could fit 4 Gen 4 cars open wide like that. I mean, they made it through that far through the turn, and not all of them made it out the other end alive.
You said 4. I don't know why. I counted 5 wide almost. We'll get to take a look at it when we see the replay. But I guess my prediction came true within a matter of seconds. You know, I kind of said it'll be chaotic off the start. That's where you can make up the most places. And apparently 5 drivers thought that they could have a chance to fight for first place. And that's just never going to work around here.
William McKellar's in the 75 car here, and he's going to be the one that's first caught and turned. Second row becomes 3 wide, and then they try forcing the issue into that Voltec car. Already a meatball flag. The 19 and the 42 just caught up as passengers along the way. An end of line penalty given to William McKellar and to Michael Allen for that incident, so plenty of cautions being claimed already, but I did expect them to gun for a little bit longer. I'll be honest, the track's big, but you don't necessarily win on the first turn. They are indeed 4 wide because that leader drops to the bottom to go all the way down, and that's the consequence. It's a collection for now.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. That second row, 3 wide, and it looked like all 3 of them sent it in the corner on that first row. So 4 wide, and of course that car very, very on the top just runs into the 75 car. Had nowhere to, I mean, I don't want to say had nowhere to go. He probably could have hit the brakes more, but just a really, really weird accident where, you know, we have 3, 4, almost 5 cars fighting for I think great job there from starting on pole just to say, you know what, I don't want any part of this, on the apron, and is able to stay in third and not get involved.
I'll let you resolve whatever's just happened to the mic on that end while we're under yellow. Going to restart this on around lap 5 of the race. So we've burned several already, and our fastest lap is hardly a fastest lap in any regard. Aaron Raymond keeps the P1. It's now Jared Duda who's going to line up alongside. James Yerger requests the end of line penalty to get out of the way of action. Could be damage, and there's already complaints in the chat about drivers sending it 4 wide at the start. It's certainly something that you have to be very, very brave to consider doing here, and maybe this time we'll be a little bit more conservative on the start. These cars have more than enough power to use. I'm going to want to see a dent in the front of Jared Duda's car, actually. I might be able to get on board with the pace car from behind. Take a look and see if we can see if there's any jank in the front of that Taurus. I think that's a little bit of jank in the front of that Taurus.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of cosmetic damage. Probably won't have too much aero effects, but yeah, Howie, I think it goes back to that, you know, that classic saying, you win the race on lap 1, but you sure can lose it on lap 1.
Plenty of time for drivers to come back, hopefully, if the fast repair is available. William McKellar has burned it. He's the only driver that has used the fast repair. We won to green with the lights off on the pace car. So we're hoping to get a lap done under green. We're being warned, take it easy under green. We'll see how easy they want to take it. We're green again for our second attempt. Aaron Raymond really launches off the line this time, and there's big separation behind. We're going to make it through turn one. Our first two wide. It's Michael Gudger here in the middle. Make it free. Entering 3 and 4. Raymond runs away. Duda keeps at P2. Now it's Gibson ahead of May, Gudger, Bailey and Mars side by side. A lot of this pack is separated, and the Ted Reichert there sort of has a huge gap to the car in front. It's already a second.
Yeah, and you can see all the different lines the cars are using. The drivers that want to be more conservative on their tires, you're going to see them dropping all the way to the bottom on that low line as we have the championship leader, the 20 car of Zane Bailey, looking for a move now.
Zane Bailey trying to make space up the road. Gonna try hugging the bottom for now in that blue, largely unsponsored car. Trying to maybe run a tire-saving line right now. You're going to have more momentum on the top of this track, but you don't want to burn that for very long. The 10 of Aaron May looks for a space around the outside of the 53 of Judah. Doesn't quite materialize. Gap's quite big. I think that aero damage on the front of Duda's car is having a bigger effect than he really would have wanted to admit, because it's backing up drivers in multiple rows.
Yeah, I guess to me it looked like just cosmetic damage, but here I am, stand corrected. That gap is pretty massive, and yeah, you're 100% right. Oh, look at that. Is that his front nose of the 53? Is that completely bashed in now that I look at it again?
Yeah, I don't think the pace cam camera sold it very well to you, to be honest, and it was very easy to fall for a red herring, but there was certainly that little janky bump in the middle of it. These cars bend and break easily at the tiniest of touch, let me tell you that. Now, Duda seems to be holding off the rest of the drivers up ahead. Bailey's been able to run too wide, the 10 and the 12 of May and Arthur, and that top has been really checked up by Duda here, being held up in pace throughout the turns. More drivers might want to start diving to this bottom.
Yeah, you can see how much he's struggling just to turn that car in. And you mentioned he's holding up the top line. The top line is going to be the quicker line around here. That's the line you run if you want to use your tires. You want to drive around other cars just because of how high the banking is and the run you get off of the corners. So the fact that that's the line he's backing up, once again, runs into the wall with the understeer, and that is going to let everybody by.
That might spell the end of his run for now up near the front. It's been getting worse and worse and worse. Jared Duda now P11. Up at the top, this chase for free is starting to develop. Aaron Raymond, Cody Gibson, and Michael Gudger leading this 1-2-3 before the gap behind is significant. It's Zane Bailey running on his own in the meantime. Plenty of drivers now staying out of each other's stuff, and already you can see how big the gaps build up. You would have never gotten these in the ARCA cars. They would have been stuck together like glue around here. Instead, we're seeing this very, very skill testing car really show some differentials in the field for now, but tire saving is going to matter a lot as well. Don't let the pace mislead you now.
Yeah, and you talk about that tire saving, all will be revealed when we get later on into the stint. You know, when we're 30, 40 laps in, that is when we'll find the answer of who saved their tires and who burnt them out fighting for early positions. And right now, Cody Gibson right on the tail of Aaron Raymond. He is looking for the lead here. Don't forget, guys, he is the person who started on pole, so most likely he is the car around here with the quickest one-lap pace.
Whether you make the line around the top or the bottom, though, in order to get past, is going to be the real struggle. Both running that top line. Could use more of your tires running it hard against the edge of the track, but there's a good run from Cody Gibson, and the draft in these cars is very, very strong, even in their usual intermediate trim in iRacing right now. Lots of position moving around the back. Noah Swafford, I think, is heavily damaged and running down. We'll try and get a replay of that once we've resolved what Cody Gibson is doing. The one car trying to get a good run on the 6 rather than running side by side in the turns. It's not materialized yet, but one good exit, and I think that's going to seal the deal.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult here for Gibson unless he can somehow find a way to get to his outside quarter panel. The only place you can go when Raymond is defending this outside line, as hard as he is that inside. But Howie, the only way you can get a move down the inside is if you pull off the nastiest slide job of your life, because that outside line gets such a good run with the banking here. It is impossible to pass someone on the inside without blocking them, without slide jobbing them, but that move is not an easy one at all.
Tight setups on these cars may not help facts. Let's take a look at what Noah Swafford was up to off the track. The 17 car here. We saw his position drop. We saw the aftermath of it. There was no yellow, so he did get it done below the yellow. All there actually is car contact to make that one happen. I thought it might have just been self-inflicted, but absolutely no. A car was turned, and we kept it green. Just trying to catch one more look as to what could have caused this one. It's the 53 and the 053 running up close to each other here. Jared Duda's in the 53 and Jim Duda is in the 053, and it's Jim who tags the 17 on the way down. Now returning out of pit lane as we return to live pictures, and this chase remains on for the lead.
Yeah, and Howie, I can tell you exactly what happened there. 53 got a little bit high into the 17 coming off the corner. Or not the 17, the 75, I believe, sorry. Gets the 75 a little bit loose. The 053 didn't expect that sudden slowdown, wasn't able to check up in time, and pushes him into that lower wall. So unfortunate there from the 75. Kind of gets messed over by 2 other cars. Not much he could do, but racing is racing, and sometimes you just have to live with the cards you're dealt.
Watching the battling here around P4 below. Zane Bailey's running high in P4. Then it's Mark Arthur, Tanner Marr, and then Paul Witt, Aaron May, and Ted Reichert, who are all having the closest battle here. Real low run from Aaron May. I thought he had a tremendous run down the straight, but it's sort of backed off. Now lap traffic in the way already because it's damaged cars. Jeff Gilmore in that 57 is a lap down. We're already running into traffic on the circuit, and we're seeing drivers scramble for space here at Atlanta. It's a big track. There's plenty of space. Still plenty in this old configuration, but it seems also just sort of feeling like as Aaron May struggling on corner exit to keep it straight. He does keep it pointed forward. As I was saying, this does feel like the track looks bigger than it is.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. That banking, especially from this camera angle, you can really see it. Looks absolutely massive. Once again, another great camera angle. You can see just how high that is. That is higher than most tracks. Definitely much higher than Milwaukee Mile, which is one of the last ovals I've casted. So that's kind of that degree of banking I'm used to. So coming back here to old Atlanta and seeing that insane banking, once again, just crazy. Just kind of caught me off guard for a bit. But we still see Cody Gibson trying to get past Aaron Raymond, trying to look left, looking right, just can't find the run. I talked about it earlier, Howie. It's going to be very, very difficult for this move to be completed.
The banking on this circuit, a fixed 24 degrees. It almost looks progressive from some of the angles. It is a tremendous level of banking now, and that's what's leading drivers to really try to hug this top as long as their right front will enjoy the ride. These cars do ride a bit on the right front as it stands, and that's only going to get tougher as the race and the run goes on, and we potentially enter the road of pit stops with driving this clean. Mark Arthur on the bottom, and you see the way his car sort of stalls out in its attempt to run alongside. It's good enough right now to stay competitive and probably good on the tyres. I myself am rating the drivers here that are sticking to this bottom and aren't just hugging the top forever here. Those that hug there might find that they really, really run out of life very, very soon in this run. We're now 23 laps into the race. Had about 5 or 6 under caution, so we're not quite on the 20th lap run on these tyres, but as you can see, 2 alternative lines being run. Tanama on the bottom, Ted Reichert on the outside, all tailing Zane Bailey, who's very much running on his own, just like Michael Gudger down the road.
Yeah, and Howie, to put it simply, the reason that outside line burns your tires out, there's a multitude of reasons. I'll bring it down to the main 3. That first one going to be you're just driving a longer distance around the track. Hugging that outside wall, you're simply just going farther. The second one, you're driving quicker as well. You're carrying more speed around a longer distance of the track, and you're more consistently going up and down that banking. And that process of driving up and down the banking using the outside line, that also wears out your tires a lot. So due to those 3 reasons, that is why that inside line is preferred by drivers who want to have tires at the end of the stint, and the outside line is preferred by drivers that want to make up places and make up places quickly.
Little bit of free wide running here as there's a lot of chopping and moving. The 19 car of James Yerger did make a pit stop very, very recently. We started to see our first stops of the race. Jim Kolensberger, Larry Bell, Cody Witt, James Yerger and Noah Swafford all making their stops, and now you're going to see tyre life really start to change. Let's see if we can get some information about the stint length, because things are going to start moving very, very quickly, and I've already missed a couple in my time, let me tell you that. Here's your stint length on the timing tower. So a few drivers chosen to send themselves laps down in order to get themselves back up the field, but this is where the pace differential really plays a factor. Feels a bit early at 26, unless there are fuel tank limitations on these cars, but there are lap time gaps now. If we look at the elite lap times for Aaron Raymond, it's a 31.8. He ran a fastest of 30.0. So we're already losing a second and a half on tyres a lap now, and this is only going to get worse as the race goes on.
Yeah, and talking about my prediction for why that gap has increased so much, Cody Gibson, for almost the entire race, has ran in the dirty air of Aaron Raymond. That means to just go the same exact speed, he's going to have to drive that car harder into and out of the corners. And just for that reason and that reason alone, he'll have to use more tires more consistently than Aaron Raymond had to. And now that's kind of caught up to him, that overuse of tires, and he's starting to fall back and lose that close gap he had to Aaron Raymond.
The running order as it stands, Aaron Raymond able to pull the gap away from Cody Gibson. Michael Gudger in P3 with Ted Reichert in 4th. Zane Bailey lines up in 5th ahead of Mark Arthur, Panama, Paul Witt, Aaron May, Jim Duda. And then it's our pitting drivers. Jim Kolensberger and Larry Bell are the first drivers to stop. And they are picking up pace and picking up speed on the track. They're looking to try and make the chase down. Actually, I'm checking the timers. I'm about to tell you one thing that I'm very sure about. I think I miscooked that a little bit. Their tires are slightly newer, but they did stop in the pit stop. They did stop in the damage. It's James Yerger, though, who we saw running earlier on, a lap down and out of the way, who did make that planned pit stop very early. Hasn't made up the gap yet, still a lap down. He is running 30.9s, so it's 1 second faster a lap, and the fall off is expanding.
Yeah, so you talk about that how much quicker these drivers on these fresher tires are. So maybe that's the reason these drivers pit, not for fuel, but for tires. A lot of times when we come to these longer ovals, you think, oh, it's going to be a fuel race because you're flat out more than you're turning. So think about tracks like Daytona, Talladega, Auto Club. Those are tracks that are usually fuel races. Tracks that are tire races, those are going to be Bristol, Nashville, your shorter tracks, Darlington, stuff like that. This is an intermediate track and one that hasn't been driven on in a long time, especially by next-gen runners or maybe even ARCA runners. So maybe the entire first part of this field is thinking it's a fuel race, but there's some people in the back of the pack that are thinking it's a tire race, and that just might be able to pay out in the end. So I'm curious to see when our questions will be answered, because I'm not too sure of the answer myself, if I'm being completely honest.
So now that I understand when people actually stopped, and I'm on the correct page with this, and I'm looking at people's numbers correctly and not just confidently stating this information in the air, we can start to work out the gap between these strategies. It's James Yerger, one of the two drivers that's going to be running significantly faster, but this whole race has thrown out quite a lot in this run so far. I'm hearing calls now, 33 laps on the tyres, that some drivers are looking to stop this lap. It was just the one-off to change the strategy earlier on, and now we're about to see some move and duck down into pit lane very, very soon. And this is becoming a long-run race. It's becoming a long-run tyre-managed race. And when the race is long-run, it's all about just being consistent and just having consistent pace. I think we have our first take. It's Aaron Raymond from the lead. Not always common for the lead driver to be one of the first to take the gutsy move, but now drivers are going to start doing this one after another.
Yeah, and I think Aaron is scared of the undercut. I think he's pitting this early to cover off that undercut from Cody Gibson. We see drivers that have pit on fresh tires have around a second to a second and a half per lap pace advantage over the drivers who have not pit yet. Since Cody Gibson was within half a second of that number 6 driver, even if Cody Gibson pitched just 1 lap earlier than Raymond's, that could be it. That could be his lead gone, his track position lost. So I think that's a very smart pit stop from Aaron Raymond to cover off the undercut and say, you know what, before you have the chance to outpit me, I'm going to pit first.
The undercut is banking on the race staying green, but so far it's done a very, very good job of doing that. Old Atlanta really splits up drivers, very, very different than the Echo Park Speedway that sits in its name now. Now it has a different name. One of the things I like about it having a different name is that we could properly separate it and say that this is its own institution now. It's separate. I can call it that. I just don't keep saying old and new. And, you know, that's a track that keeps people together. This is a track that, especially in these cars, I've covered other leagues in the past that bring Gen 4s to this track. This track splits drivers apart. Racing's good here, but it's such an intense intermediate. It's such a big, fast, intense one that really separates tire life on drivers that you do find that the race really strings out. It becomes about that tire game. In that instance where the race stays green, probably the right play to make that undercut. And perhaps we might be seeing our first stopper retake the lead once all is said and done, because as you said, it's just more laps on the fast tires and you're in control of your strategy and destiny. Late yellows, of course, they can come out of nowhere and they can turn this race into a panic.
Yeah, so the drivers that are still staying out, I believe it's Wreckage, Arthur, and Witt. They're looking for one of two things here. Either a caution like right now, or they're looking for that overcut. The complete opposite of an undercut. Instead of pitting before your competitors, you build yourself a gap and pit 5 to 7 laps after your competitors. And instead of having that lap block where you're quicker, that comes out, where you're quicker comes out through the rest of that stint. For the entire rest of the stint, you have 5 or 7 fresher lap tires. So instead of an immediate payoff that the undercut gives, the overcut is more of a slow payoff that happens over the stint. So that is a strategy that those drivers that are staying out longer are going to be using instead of that undercut.
Pretty sure all drivers have made their stop, barring one. Kyle Wellman, running 34 laps old on the tyres, has to be one of the last to drop in. That it's not really a commentator's curse, it's more like a commentator's call to action. Jeff Gilmore, the black flag on entry, speeding on the way in, and that's his reaction to that information. Tow and get out of there.
I think he's done, Howard.
Yeah, that was sort of like my reaction to that information is I'm not particularly interested in one. Maybe I would feel the same way. So what's this done to the race? Aaron Raymond inherits the lead. First to stop, first back out. Cody Gibson, a second and a half back with lap cars in between to make up the gap. 1 lap newer on the tyres. Look out for Ted Reichert on the alternate strategy, though. He has 3 newer laps on the tyres. He's come out P5, so that deep overcut, he's gone for it. He started second. He's lost a few places, but still absolutely within contention. Row is open really for anybody, I think, to make their strategy work. Yes, you say conventional wisdom's going to lie with the undercut, but one of the things about oval racing is that it becomes a lot more strategy related just because of the unpredictable stuff that can happen on the track today.
Yeah, and something really interesting I want to point your attention to. Cody Gibson, coming out of the pits, had a 2-second gap to Aaron Raymond, showing how strong that undercut is. But look at this. In essentially 3 or 4 laps, he's got that gap already down to under a second. He is pacing around half a second quicker than Aaron Raymond. So either that is the 1-lap fresher tires really showing their worth, with which the 1-lap fresher tires will be quicker, not half a second a lap quicker, or Cody Gibson is just pushing his tires out more than Aaron Raymond is, which, you know, probably not the best thing to do, because as we've seen so far, this field's been really, really good at keeping this green. So you want to make sure you have tires by the end of this stint. But as you can see, Cody Gibson is pushing, and he just wants to lead. He wants this track position.
No matter how he gets it, he is certainly going to go hunting and pecking for it. As you just saw, as you were talking, that gap shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. Our pole setter of the race doesn't want to give this up for 1 second, and he's now within 1/10 of a second to make it done. It's gone down from a second. It's lost temps lap after lap after lap. He's going to hug the bottom. He's looking for that alternate line, trying to have momentum on exit. And I think that 6 has been just checked up a little. He might not have had the best mid-corner run. He keeps it for now, but got to keep our eye on this, because I think that pass will evolve the second we potentially look away. Still to the bottom of the track. Still no purchase here, but over that tri-oval is creeping closer and closer and closer. It's just going to be one good turn.
And Howie, I don't mean to say this bluntly, but the definition of insanity is trying something over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm not too sure why Gibson is pushing out his tires just to get back in the dirty air that ruined his tires in the first place. You know, he spent an entire stint sitting on that back bumper of Aaron Raymond, knowing he can't get past. Why go over the same thing, ruin your tires once again, doing the exact same thing you did in the first stint? We know it didn't work. So maybe for the second stint, you sit back. You stay within that second gap so you're not in dirty air. You know, you sit back, save your tires, and see if you can get it by the end of the stint. That is at least a strategy I would use, but Gibson is all loud pedal here today.
This sort of driving is going to eat up his stuff, and I think you're right on the call that even if he makes it by here, he's not going to like the prognosis at the end of the race when this all finishes off. Still just not able to get it done. That bottom isn't fast right now. It could be getting built in as this race goes on. It could be getting evolved if more run down there, but right now it just hasn't ever become a racing line. And it can't be that Gibson's running low in order to try and save tyre, because he just burns so much getting up to the back of this 6 car, and now we're just going to believe he's going to save tyre in his midst. He could have done that a very, very long time ago. Bit of an unusual split strategy here. I'm not sure whether even he knows quite how he wants to play this, but he is going to chase and hunt for that win now. It completely changes in this window, and we're seeing this play out oh so differently.
Yeah, and it honestly goes back to a little bit of not a lie I said earlier in the stream, but kind of a fib. That outside line, that's a quicker line when you're in a pack, when you're in traffic, and you're able to use that run effectively to get around people. But that qualifying line, what's going to be quicker when you're just by yourself, it is going to shift to that inside line solely for the fact that you just drive the shortest length around the track. So I think what Cody Gibson did is he just booked out 6 or 7 qualifying laps, got up to the bumper of Aaron Raymond, is now just completely stuck in his dirty air. So once again, I don't too well see the strategy that he's trying to pull, but I mean, he's going aggressive, he's showing for it, he's showing that he wants first, he's showing that he has more pace than him, but I just don't know if it's the right way of going about it.
Any claim that the Gen 4 did not have dirty air and that we're stuck in an era of it is very rapidly disproven by listening to anyone from the era talk about how you just can't pass in these cars back then. So dirty air, it's totally real in these cars. It's a total factor, and it might just be one of the main things that has really gummed him up. That's our driver that made the very, very early stop in the wall up ahead. The 19, a lap down, James Yerger didn't really get much done with the strategy, and now he's on the slow side of his tyres and is being lapped back again by drivers that have been pushing very, very, very hard on their set. but it is forcing Gibson to take an unusual line through this turn here, as he can't get up against the wall, so he can't make his arc properly. Meanwhile, Raymond cuts down just a little bit to try and get in his way, but that's really slowed down Gibson quite a lot. Looking back down the road, this is Mark Arthur in P5 holding off Zane Bailey and Tanamar. We've seen all three of these drivers in a bit of a tangle, and the pit stops have shuffled them around just a little. I think they'll be playing this game furthermore throughout the race.
Yeah, and my strategy right now for any of these drivers in the midfield, essentially anywhere from 3rd all the way to 15th, it would be to just underdrive the car really, really heavy. Take that inside line, take that middle line, and pit a good, maybe even 10 laps after all of your competitors pit. Stay out just that bit longer. Build a really, really big tire delta to everybody else. Then once you've done that, in that last stint, maybe even that 3rd or 4th stint, depending on how many more stints we have left in this race, that is when you make your move. That is when you go, and that is when you make up all your positions and all of your time. So that's just me speaking personally from someone who has more next-gen experience, not too experienced in the Gen 4, but that is how I would drive this race as it has been developing so far.
This car is fun. I'd suggest you give it a shot, but I recommend you stay away from the Chevy. I think there's some BOP voodoo happening with any car that I don't buy. It's Tanamar trying to get past Zane Bailey. Mark Arthur was able to run away, but Zane Bailey's running slow at the moment. Oh, we are yellow on the track. I'm not seeing what caused that, but that is not a car in a good state. That's Joshua Burke. Let's get a replay and try and work out what happened here. Meatball for Cody Witt as well, who I've talked about janky cars earlier today. That one might take the cake. Here it is.
Yeah, see, he's going into the corner, just taking that middle line. I'm not seeing anything too aggressive. Oh my gosh! Sorry, that jump scared me. That came out of nowhere. Yeah. That is a stop car.
That is not where it started, so let's go back, rewind, try again, work it out. This was Joshua Burke. So it was my first suspicion, okay? It was my first suspicion. And I don't know whether this was self-inflicted or whether this has something to do with any of the cars that went by. Oh, that's a tight shot into the wall. That car self-repairs for a little bit of magic, but in the lockup, rejoining the track. He did try and rejoin safely, but that is still not quite how it's going to work out. Paul Witt and Jim Duda and Jim Commonsberger all black flagged, some of them for passing under yellow on the pit entry. They might get cleared, but a substantial wreck. The car's still there. Oh, Burke needs to try and get this back on the track in one piece, please. Everybody going for the pit stops. Make that a hard reset at the halfway mark. Drivers staying out are Thomas Lane Jr., William McKellar. Those are the only two that are staying out. 21 and 19 laps on the tyres. The rest getting wave rounds around the edge. It's going to be an unusual front row. Old tyres. And at a pit road, I believe it's Zane Bailey who has the jump on the field.
Wow, so yeah, great pit from him. I believe he was all the way back in like 5th or 6th. So I don't think he only took right sides. We can check to see if he did, but did he just outdrive everybody else on pit road there?
I'm looking at pit times, and Zane Bailey and Paul Witt, they took right sides and they left, and that is how they were able to get the jump on the field. They're leaving far earlier out the box with a 7.5 to 8.3 second stop compared to the 15-second average. Rest of the drivers, you can see them filing out a real race down pit road there that is won by Aaron Raymond over Cody Gibson, who really stepped on that loud pedal on the pit exit. But we have a very, very, very unique different tyre strategy on 1 to green. Let's get the stint data up, and I'll show you quite what I'm talking about. This is unusual. Very old tyres on the front row. Thomas Lane Jr. and William McKellar on 22-lap old tyres. Then Zane Bailey and Paul Witt on the 2-tyre strat. Then everybody else on the 4. So we have 3 different rows of 3 different ideas on this track. What could possibly go wrong, Lucas? That's a great question.
Everything, Howie, is my answer to that, because let me tell you what, when you have a front row full of drivers on a second and a half a lap slower tires, it is just going to be chaos. We are going to see 4 wide get sent here. I am almost 100% sure of it. These drivers behind, it's gonna be crazy, and I don't think, I'm gonna be honest, Howie, I don't think we're gonna stay green for longer than a lap.
Is it the commentator's curse or is it the commentator's blessing? I think I have one of the dirtiest commentator's curses in all of history, but that's just how I do things. I don't really know what your history is on the track, obviously, not encountered you too many times.
I'll show you the video.
Okay, maybe one day the front row is checked up appallingly badly. It's gone exactly as we expected. Drivers in the grass, that wreck's going to rejoin the field, and that should be the yellow flag. Well,
I don't want to say I called it, but I mean...
that's less of a curse and more of the inevitable reality, I think, of facts facing the track. There's some disagreement on the mic over this, but I saw William McKellar's car on the outside lane begin the checkup of a century that really sent this all flying. Oh, those cars not ready to launch. 2 flying down below. I think Michael Allen gets caught up in this as well. The 13 sent spinning. Ted Reich damaged along the way. Probably lots of repair bills to face for that. And, well, that is, they're currently calling their cautions. Of course, the system in the SRA series is drivers take responsibility for the caution. They get an end of line, and the matter is closed there. Do we get a good view of just how many drivers get collected on the way? Yes. A few unfortunate victims on the back. That includes the 10 car and the 17.
Yeah, and the 13 as well. They're involved in that. And it comes down to one simple fact. Drivers don't practice restarts on 22-lap-old tires. And for that reason, and that reason alone, they didn't expect to have so little rear grip. They hit that loud pedal. You saw both those front runners. I forget who they were. Both of their cars drifted right up the track. They both got loose off of the start. One hit the wall, one hit other cars, and it just caused chaos behind. Once again showing, please do not stay out and lead the race on old tires. Even if they did make it past the start, they're going to be so slow in the corners. It's going to check everybody up behind, make everybody drive overly aggressively, and it will only ever cause cautions. I've seen it happen so many times in the leagues I race, and I knew that it would be nothing different here. Tale as old as time, from my perspective at least. Don't know about you, Howie.
I've seen times where it works, but it's scary and it requires a great degree of skill and practice on, as you most notably pointed out, something that you don't practice very often. No one actually gets out on the track and repeatedly tries their 20-lap-old restart. And if you can keep the car in one place and you can trust the cars behind to not cause a problem, then it can work. But if not everything works at once, and you get exactly what we just saw there, and your observation, not a curse, just an observation. So we line up for 1 to green one more time. Some of the drivers who haven't stopped this time actually. Zane Bailey is still on the 2-tire strat. So from my experience, 2 tires are limited in their applicability, and one of the factors behind the 2 tires working is a very single groove racetrack. Once you start using the whole track, you start running into problems where 2 tires becomes a little bit risky, a little bit dangerous, and a little bit scary. And Zane Bailey is continuing to take that risk into his own hands. Jim Duda was at the back a whole lot earlier on, but the chaos of these race restarts has bumped him up now into P5, and of course on fresh tires, it's like a race reset that we was just wishing to come. Aaron Raymond and Cody Gibson, our 2 race chargers to try and win this, are starting on the same row, so they're not going to be able to make a dramatic jump on each other. We approach the green flag. I'm really not sure how this one will go, much as I wasn't quite sure about the last one, but new things can come to surprises. I don't actually know if this track has a marked restart zone or whether or not it's run. Of course, not really running completely in line with the Gen 4 Cup series. It always runs outside line single file. There is a restart zone, and we are restarting in the restart zone. We are green. Raymond's able to get the run. Gibson's given a clean line because he's not held up by a two-tire car, and he's going to try and chase down on fresh rubber now. It's an even playing field for these two as we are wide in the rows behind. I see some free further back in the field. Zane Bailey still acting as the block, though, for Cody Gibson.
Yeah, and Zane Bailey did exactly what he planned on. You talked about that one race roof track, and a great slide job there, from Cody Gibson, able to get past the 20 of Zane Bailey. And you see, he's really holding up that 40 of Tanner Marr behind, and Jim Duda now looking to the inside, and 40 going above Bailey. We're 3 wide in Atlanta.
I don't think that car has the pace in it on those two tires, and it also isn't the safest coming out of the corner. Now 2 for 2. Contact up ahead. Both able to keep it in one pace, but that's between Duda and Marr. Almost a scary moment on the circuit. It could be another, as Duda seems to just be a little slow on exit, entering the tri-oval. 64 makes contact. Michael Gudger, he's going to hold it low. Plenty of space in the middle for someone foolhardy, and even more contact as they return. They've been banging doors almost every single lap since this restart. They're still in one piece. They are still in one piece, alas. Aaron Raymond's enjoying the chance to run for Cody Gibson by the way. Faster per lap right now, and 8 tenths ahead.
And Howie, who needs the Coke Zero 400 when you have this great Gen 4 SRA racing at Old Atlanta? These drivers are bumping, they're running into each other, they're shoving each other up and down the track. We have alternate strategies, we have long green flag runs, we have short, quick cautions. I mean, this race is panning out to be an absolute, I don't want to say chaos filled, but it's absolute masterpiece. As so many different strategies are happening, we're getting so many different varieties of race results and race outcomes that by the end of this, in 35 laps, we're going to get some great racing for these top 5 positions.
Raymond continues to run away from Gibson. The gap now 0.9 seconds, but we're not watching the way those race because really it's P3 down that are providing the action on the track here today. 2 running low, 1 running high, the rest running low, but they're picking their lanes every single lap based upon the conditions. So that bottom's getting faster and faster and faster, even if it's hard to pass around it. That 64 takes to the high side again. That's Michael Gudger side by side exiting at the turn. Tanner Marr on the bottom gets a little bit loose and squirrely and then sends Jim Duda's car around. Uh-oh.
That's a little bit more than a little bit loose there, Howard. I think that car is completely sideways by my knowledge.
Not sure that was looseness as much as it might have been another car. Not quite clear. Moving up on the line and sending the 53 back. I'm curious if that 053 has taken any significant damage. Looks like he got away with it other than being sent to the back of the field. That's just unfortunate from his perspective. I think there's not really much he could have done to get out of that situation. We're going to ride on board with Duda here as drivers come and collect the pace car. Inside of these cars, just so wonderfully modelled. And from his perspective, yeah, he just literally gets turned. How's he able to keep it together? Thankfully, no incidents worthy of the hospital.
Yeah, and I think I don't know what they're saying in the driver chat. I don't feel too confident placing the blame on either driver here. Just one of those situations where you're fighting over millimeters. Both drivers are ever so slightly moving towards each other. You know, one guy's not hugging the wall perfectly, but, you know, he's there, and it's just so ever slightly. Like, the thickness of a shoestring, the space in between those cars, and the slightest bit of contact on that quarter panel send one of those cars around. I had a very similar accident happen to be in Homestead. Just, you know, I'm hugging the wall, there's a driver on my inside, and we both move towards each other ever so slightly, like talking absolute millimeters, Howie. And that's just what's going to bring out the caution there, unfortunately.
You don't want to know the number of people I turned around the Gen 4 Cup on Michigan today. I mean, like, really, I've got, like, a confessional to write to a priest about what happened, let me tell you that. Differing strategies again. So a lot to recap for the field here. Let me try and do my absolute best to explain what just happened under pit road. Up front, Tanamar and Michael Gudger having not stopped.
No.
13 laps on the tyres. I have faith that they might be able to do this. It'll be slow, but hopefully they can keep the car from under and behind them. Cody Gibson only takes fuel. Mark Arthur only takes fuel. Paul Witt, Jim Coleman-Spenger. Well, I'm seeing 6-second pit stops, which is usually in line with someone only taking fuel. I might actually get a quick check on the way those cars move. But then Aaron Raymond, 14 seconds in the box. Zane Bailey, 15 seconds in the box. I want to see if maybe I can get one of these pit stops down. I'm going to struggle to in time, but I think I might just be able to. This is going to be a real speedy moment here. I believe in myself. Let's just see what this is. This is the Jim Commonsberger's car. Looks like a lot of drivers taking fuel only on that stop.
That's honestly pretty confusing to me. With 32 to go, I would just take a new set of tires, get some more fuel. A tire stint of 32 laps, that's perfect where you run around here. You know, perfect where you don't have to save too much to make it 30 laps, but you also, you know, it's not long enough where you have to make 2 stops. So I kind of like the strategy. I believe it was Zane Bailey and Jim Duda, you said, who took that tires, who took the fuel as well. And now they're just able to get the race on much fresher tires than the rest of the field.
Corso sets are limited, and you do want to hold some back for the end of the race. Away we go on the restart, and this time those tyres not old enough to compromise the start of the run. That top 2 able to run with a great start, but that field may come back to them. Gibson and Raymond are right up in each other's business again. Starting side by side, Mark Arthur on the outside of Raymond. Gibson's able to get away for now. A nice clear on the exit for Raymond, but he might have overcooked this just a little bit, as too much send on the exit leads to you losing all that time back out. Up front, Tanamar for the lead, side by side with Gudger, but it's Gibson on the fresher tyres who's going to challenge up front.
Yeah, and we saw Gibson finally getting past Aaron Raymond, may I add. He's got that move done with the chaos of the entire pack involved, and now Gibson's hunting for that first place. He's been hunting for it the entire last 70 laps, but now that he has 2 cars with tires in him, he just might be able to, or he would be, even tires, I guess, because he only took fuel. But Aaron Raymond, it's not one of those cars that we've seen have a lot of pace. So he might just be able to get these moves done and bring it to the point for the first time this race.
Lucas, that's on me. I sent you down a garden path, but I couldn't stint number, and you think, oh, it's stint. Stint means stint means stint means stint. Here we go. Almost 3 wide on the front and the back of Aaron Raymond's car, threading the needle. These 2 drivers have been the strongest of the day so far, and they want to punch through these top 2 who haven't spent nearly as much time up top. Cody Gibson looking to potentially try and send it free, but Aaron Raymond wants to fit into that gap first. Not quite going to happen. Lots of space on the bottom. Not going to get taken. Raymond's in the wall. He's going to hold up the line.
Yeah, and what you want to do if you're Gibson, you just want to get a really, really good run coming off of one of these corners. Catch the guys off guard, split them, thread the needle, go middle of 3, and get your pass done. I did it once at Bristol. It was very risky, but let me tell you, Howie, it looks very, very cool.
Count me out of finishing a lap of Bristol outside of the wall. Would you believe I'm 2K on ovals? It's crazy. Still, Tanamar and Michael Gudger not quite disarmed from this position, but Gibson on the high side is going to hope to try and clear at least one of them and get them out of the way. We're not quite completely enough for me to make the 3 wide shout of glory, but he almost made it happen. The momentum not quite traveling through. Now, on that outside line again, he's following Gudger, trying to get what little draft he can. This early portion of the race still quite pack heavy with the current draft model of the cars. Those are some wonderful pit lane reminders. I'm really happy to have those right now. Cody Gibson clears Tanamar this time. That high side working to his advantage. Now it's going to be a chase behind Gudger, who obviously has been holding it, although hasn't been completely straight out of the corners.
Yeah, and while all this has been happening, I've kept my eye on that 20 car of Zane Bailey. Started the restart in 12th. As you know, the only driver to get 4 fresh new tires on that last restart made it all the way up to 5th. He is going to have the tire advantage for the rest of this race if it stays green. Zane Bailey is my driver to win this race.
And that has changed everything.
Oh, never mind.
You literally say the words. I hear the caution call in my ear before you see any evidence of it happening. So in my ear, I hear, about to win this race. Caution, yellow flag. And I think I've not seen it. This chat has gotten legitimately toxic, by the way. Words I am not going to repeat, and words that might not see one of these drivers allowed back in the league anymore. Thankfully, I don't have names. It's the 11 into the back of the 6. And that's going to begin the whole chain. Aaron Raymond, excellent running. Now with a wrecked race car.
Yeah, you said it. Excellent running. He's been up in the top literally the entire race, but luckily for him, that means he hasn't quite used his fast repair yet, so he will still be able to stay on that lead lap with a fully fixed car. And let's see it one more time. I believe it's just 3 wide. He gets pushed. We're pushing in Atlanta in the Gen 4s. I don't know why. Do you, like, what?
Think there's a bit of a speed gap that really defines this. Gaps from this camera, just how much of a run that the 11 had here and did not check up. These cars have a super speedway nose, and I'm afraid they're not running them right now. Probably not an intentional strategy, but that failure to check up caused some legendary damage to the field. And while the fast repair is available, you never want to have to burn it quite like that. Aaron Raymond, if I look at the standings, though, you're going to be amazed at what I see. The magic of the fast repair and the incredible work of the pit crews here at iRacing means he was able to crawl that car into the pit lane and is still in P3 with a suspiciously good-looking car. Who knows what the magic of the iRacing pit crews can really do under a bad day. That's his only fast repair remaining. Cody Gibson is also here on the track, just a little bit behind. Zane Bailey and Thomas Lane Jr. lead the top 2. The rest are going to be taking stops, wave arounds, or sends to backs very soon.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious how he was able to get up there so far. I think... Did he jump some cars? Now he's having to let them back? That might have been what happened, and now we have a lot of takers down to pit lane, so that could be one of 2 things. Maybe people who just fueled up on their last run, seeing that, oh, tires are really good here. You know, they saw how quick Zane Bailey was on those fresher tires, so maybe they now want a fresh set of tires of their own, or those are people that just simply didn't pit at that last stop. And I think, is this a replay of the pits?
Yes, I'm trying to catch quite what happened to all of these cars. That isn't a wrecked car. I mean, Raymond's car is in a pretty good state here. So if I go back. Yes, he was out of line and a bit too far up the road. He's now sitting in P10. I've been given those places back. Obviously, you lose places when you are collected under the yellow. You lose places to people that pass you. And so iRacing have put him back in P10 after the pit stop. But the magic of the fast repair means he's not out of this race with 22 laps to go and just over 10 minutes of green flag running. And plenty of differing strats in the pit box. Let me actually look at the numbers and confirm this for you and not get this wrong. Zane Bailey, fresh tyres. Thomas Lane Jr., 11-lap-old tyres. Yeah, I'm looking at this. No, Zane Bailey, 11-lap-old tyres. Thomas Lane Jr., older. Everyone else, new tyres. Locked it in for good. A lot of data to deal with at once. Let's get this race restart underway and forget all about the difficulties of race strategy. And it's another start. It's not going to go to plan, I'm afraid, as the 40 is just one of the cars turned in front of the field.
And Howie, once again, the 38 car of Thomas Lane Jr. on those old tires didn't have the rear grip he needed for that restart. Second, he put that right side pedal down, that gas pedal down, absolutely went nowhere. Gets tagged a little bit from the one behind, and just once again shows you why you do not want to be at the front of the field on old tires if you have not practiced it or if you're not an experienced driver. Look, just keep your eye on the 38 car in front. Just look at the run, just absolutely gets flooded, and that's just going to cause a huge checkup behind, and the drivers just couldn't check up quick enough.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we are going to ban starting on the old tires. I mean, maybe we've just had it's all just gone a little bit too wrong for a little bit too many times, and now it's turned this race to a little bit of a stop-start experience. Let's take a look at that 38 on Thomas Lane Jr. and just quite how his start went from bad to wrong. Contact the one, so now both of these race-contending win cars have been involved in serious contact. Lane Jr. kind of gets away with it. Actually, there's some damage on the front, but the fast repair will deal with that. I mean, we are in a bit of a going nowhere right now. Very, very fast. 1 to green again. Zane Bailey and Gudger now have the cursed chalice of leading the line. It's actually 2 to green. We've still got a lucky dog to do. I'm jumping the gun just a little bit, but call it a cursed chalice. Zane Bailey and Michael Gudger. So, 14 lap stint for Zane Bailey. Stop me if you've heard this one before, Lucas. 14 lap stint for Zane Bailey. So now he's the old tyre runner. Michael Gudger, 4 lap stint. Changed tyres on the last stop. Everybody else, very fresh on those tyres. Pretty much just did with a restart and a stop. And now Zane Bailey is the one to show whether or not it can be done. We've seen one success case and a few fail cases.
Well, how the tables have turned. Zane Bailey, who was on those fresh tires, drove it from 12th to 4th on that restart, was the only driver to not stop on that caution that happened a couple cautions ago. Because he already took the fresh new tires, he didn't have to. Now on 10 lap older tires than the rest of the field, can he keep it? Can he keep that first place for 19 to go with drivers like Michael Gudger, Jim Duda, Cody Gibson, and Aaron Raymond? Drivers that have been quick this entire race. It's not going to be an easy task, but Zane Bailey, your championship leader, if anybody can do it, it would be him. It's just about surviving that restart. And he did. Let me say, on that last one, where the 38 car got very wobbly off the restart, Zane Bailey nailed it. Didn't put the gas all the way down super quickly in the blink of an eye. He feathered that throttle down, was able to get a really good run very quickly. So I think he's going to look to do the same thing here again. And like I said, if he survives the restart and doesn't lose his rear tires, he has a good shot at keeping this first place.
10 laps is not within that sort of range of like your tires are doomed on a restart if you do it correctly. The worst restart we saw was like 20 plus laps where actually like you are starting to worry, but it's 10 laps of green flag running because a lot of these are slow. That is about the sort of range where as long as you don't do something stupid, you might not be fastest off the line, but you can keep that car in one piece. I am hoping to keep that car in one piece. We're all hoping that we get to see an epic grandstand finish here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've had some epic racing so far, and there's plenty more in the channel to come. Let's see how quickly I can plug some of these while we can. We have the BPL at Las Vegas, the Boys League at Charlotte, the High Tide Racing League at Las Vegas. Further down the line, we have the OMSRL at Dover, the PSR at Darlington, and the Beer League at a track that has not quite been filled on the schedule yet. We are green flag on the road. I'll take that as a good. I'll take that as a good plug. Off we go. Green on the road. Zane Bailey gets the run good. Behind, it's Gudger and Duda who are going to be competing. And would you believe it, Raymond and Gibson together at last.
Yeah, once again, the 6 and the 1, the 2 cars that have been side by side, and it looks like Cody Gibson climbs the elevator looking to go down the inside of 3, but that inside line just not working for him.
I like the tenacity and the pace, but keep these cars in one piece at the end. Raymond on the outside and try not to spin it and lose it. Big gap forming behind Gibson. We've been watching these two as your candidates to win the race the whole race so far. Aaron Raymond runs side by side close with Jim Duda, who has been about everywhere on this track and now has the chance for some seriously good points if he holds on tight. That 6 and that 1 have been bound together, and that's one around and around below the line. Aaron Raymond, he spun. His hopes of a good race are over if the race stays green from that, which it has. We'll review that one next time we have an opportunity, because we have a potential chase for the lead between our 2 actual front runners. It's Gudger and Bailey. Gudger on the outside.
Yeah, and that outside line, look at the 64 cars run. He's going to get here, easily clears the 20 as we're making our way down the quad oval. And you have that crash for Aaron Raymond. And looks like now we have Cody Gibson, Jim Duda looking for the inside there, looking for that last podium position. Doesn't look to get it on that account, but now that the 64 has cleared Zane Bailey, it's the one's turn to attack and see if he can get past him as well.
The complexion of this race has changed so much from its opening. It was the 6 and the 1 dueling, but now Michael Gudger looks like he could have the run to run away with this. Zane Bailey on older tyres by 10 laps is going to get passed easily by Cody Gibson, who's done a very good job at chasing drivers, but hasn't been able to quite get past on the rear when given the opportunity. Now he's got his own chase to do to try and reclaim his pole position and reclaim the win of this race that he started with. Michael Gudger running some decent laps, a 30.31. Gibson was faster last lap. We'll check again on the stripe. 2 tenths faster again for Gibson. It's a 35 versus a 31. So Gibson's faster on the lap to lap, but you have seen many times today that dirty air when you get close just make the pass a harder move.
Yeah, and let me tell you, you need much more than a 2/10 lap advantage around here to make a pass. You need upwards of half of a second is what I would estimate a lap advantage. And Cody Gibson just doesn't have that tire offset at the moment. The reason he was able to get past Zane Bailey is that 10 lap tire offset. That's going to put Zane Bailey at a significantly decreased pace. And now that he's got passed by Jim Duda, he's probably going to hover around P4. That's most likely where he'll finish the race. But now we can turn our attention to that battle in the front. Can Gibson find a way around the 64? Wasn't able to find his way around the 6. So maybe he's learned from all the moves he tried in the 6. Maybe he can pull something out he hasn't tried just yet, but it's going to be very tough for him.
Even tyres, although that doesn't necessarily say much about how they've been used at this point in the run. Cody Gibson started the race on pole, struggled to get it back against the 6. The 6 is now out of contention, and it's Michael Gudger who has to try and hold Gibson off. He's been a relentless hornet all race, but the one thing we've found that has worked is that top lane. Drivers that have been hugging it have not been losing their places, and Gudger has been higher up on the wall every opportunity he's been given. 10 laps to go, only 10 chances to go. Make that 4.5 minutes of running. And Cody Gibson really needs a run, really needs to get something magical, and it's not materialized so far for him. Further back, by the way, lots of racing around Paul Witt, Tanner Marr, Mark Arthur, and Josh Bolivar Jr., who we haven't spoken about at all today, in that Hendricks Cars throwback. More like a modern sort of revival. He's made it up to P9 from 20 after all of the pandemonium.
Yeah, you said it, and now Zane Bailey on those old tires, 2 seconds behind 2 seconds behind Michael Gudger, so he's completely lost that draft. He's essentially driving his old race in no man's land, and he is praying that in these next 8 laps, that 429 of Paul Witt isn't able to get up to his rear bumper as we have a fight for the lead, Howie.
On the topic of the rear bumper, Cody Gibson sure sent it to the rear bumper. He had an excellent run onto the tri-oval. Here he comes to the bottom, tries to hold that line. It's been slower throughout the race, but he still remains alongside, falls in behind. Gudger is playing a defensive masterclass on the top of the track, and the driver that started in 9th could have taken advantage of circumstances to end up at the top here today. We crossed the stripe with 6 to go. This could become a photo finish on the line. Have you ever seen a driver in this league want a win more and claw and scrape for it at every chance? These Gen 4s were magic at Daytona, and they're a special kind of magic at the 1.5 miles of Atlanta Motor Speedway tonight. Gudger, still look at how he's able to hug that wall. I think the way he's able to hold that so well is going to make the difference this race between a win and a loss.
Yeah, literally every chance this race, Cody Gibson has been wanting that lead so badly. Whether it's fighting the 6 or the 64, he has been on the rear bumper of a car one way or another every single moment of this race. Stuck in second place. Almost feels like a daydream at 64s in the wall. This could be it.
We saw the sparks come off the back. That will hurt his pace down the back stretch, but Cody Gibson keeps it low, 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 and as a result, we exit onto the tri-oval. It's not going to pan out as planned, but we did see the weakness there in Gudge's line. Finally gave it up one too many against the wall. If he does that again, he might be claimed for breakfast on it. There is such a thing as too high on the wall. You don't want to make your LSU yellow and purple stripe on the wall, but Cody Gibson doesn't have the run on lap 97. We're going to cross into lap 98. The time ticks down on these drivers. Jim Duda's going to confidently hold on to that P3 place. Paul Witt completely out of contention now, but all eyes are up ahead on Gibson. He's within less than a tenth on the entry. Backs up a little bit on the middle. Does he have the run on the exit this time? He's approaching. He's approaching. He's not able to get underneath one extra time.
And let me say, it is slide job or nothing here for Cody Gibson. He's going to have to get very, very desperate if he wants this win. Do some outrageous moves, outrageous late braking. I'm very curious to see what he can pull out of the bag, because if I know I was in his position, I would show the people why I earned the nickname Moody Missile.
Is that a nickname he has? Moody Missile?
That's a real thing. That's a real thing I have. I've been called the Moody Missile in my league multiple times.
Oh, I thought Moody Gibson was the Moody Missile. It makes sense for you to be the Moody Missile. You are Lucas Moody after all. And as we approach the white flag, one of these drivers might end up a little moody if they don't have the pace quite under them. Gibson stays low. That was his closest run over the stripe. Looks to be the white flag in the air now. A small amount of contact as we run up. This is the closest he is running. He's going to send it deep as hard as he possibly can into every single turn. He lacks a little bit of momentum down that back straight. Not the greatest exit, and it's going to be a photo finish on the line between the two. Gudger has momentum on the top. The top has historically played well. He's into the wall though, and that's going to give the win to Gibson at the last second. It's Gibson at Atlanta.
I cannot believe what I just saw. Literally the last corner of the last lap, the exit of the last corner on the last lap. That 64 yellow and purple LSU car just couldn't keep it straight. He had that just really weird dirty air bouncing off of him from that one car on the inside, got him loose on the exit, and Cody Gibson is your race winner.
This is a heartbreaking way to lose a race that you defended like an absolute champion. First part of the quad oval, nailed. Second part, that's the lap before, I think. Let's just watch this lap in slow-mo then as they head around the track. I think when you go back 20 seconds on oval like this, it turns out you actually sent back the entire lap. But these are the margins. There wasn't contact there. It actually looked like they might have hip-checked each other. Cody Gibson on this bottom line is the master of pressure here. Look at how close he's able to run Gudger to the wall. I thought it was all over with that wobble. Momentum got cost. Then you could already see Gudger just a little bit in the wall, and this is where it's going to go from bad to worse. That Coca-Cola LSU car, it's stunning looking up at the front of the pack, but it's going to be entering this quad oval where it all starts to go horribly, horribly wrong. Wall contact, a hard hit into the banner, and that's what it's going to take to give up the win.
Yeah, as the saying goes, Howie, pressure makes diamonds. But today we have one diamond and we have one set of coal, unfortunately, because under the pressure, Cody Gibson delivered and Michael Gudger, unfortunately, just wasn't able to bring enough. So once again, Gibson will be burning it down on victory lane. And I can't wait to talk to both of these drivers to hear their perspective on these last couple laps.
Oh, we'll see what happened to Aaron Raymond. That race went by so far, we didn't really get a chance to see into the wall. That's how he left the racetrack today. And that leaves one driver that really could have had everything who didn't quite have it all. Let's get our unofficial race results locked in here after an incredible run. Cody Gibson takes a win on the line over Michael Gudger. Behind, the gaps are a little bit larger. Jim Duda takes third, Tanner Marr takes fourth, Paul Witt takes fifth, and Jared Duda, Mark Arthur, Zane Bailey, John Bulwada Jr., and Thomas Lane Jr. rounding out our top 10.
And then finishing in 11th is Jim. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Behind him, the 6 of Aaron Raymond, who we saw leading so much of this race, but has had that unfortunate contact and then that moment in the wall as well. Then here we are in 13th. Your last driver on that lead lap is James Yerger. Then 1 lap down is Ted Rekich. 2 laps down, Michael Allen, Joshua Burke, Noah Swafford. And then Aaron May, William McClure IV, and Larry Bell round out your top 20.
I mean, I'm just going to say, I think I've gone with Jin Coleman Spurger, but that's a tricky one. It's honesty down there. Cody Witt, Carl Wellman, and Jeff Gilmore, Marley, final 3 drivers on the track, and I believe we're going to have some of that top 3 to now talk to. Hopefully some of them. We only have the one so far, and it's our P2 finisher, Michael Gudger. So while it is an official Green Flag TV crime to interview people this far out of order, and I might be held responsible after the fact, I would like to catch up with the first driver we can. Michael Gudger, a P2 finish that could have been so much more. Before we talk about that last lap, let's talk about how you ran and defended that. How fun was that battle?
I don't know, it was back and forth. Cody was faster for sure, but he just couldn't get by me on that top line. Had some really good blocks here and there and killed his momentum and was able to stay in front of him, but was able to stay up there all race, which is pretty good. And yeah, I was able to put myself in position there at the end, but unfortunately just choked coming out of turn 4. That was certainly one of the biggest chokes in a while, but oh well. Second place is still pretty good for points and everything.
So yeah, that shot in the wall has marked one of the most incredible finishes in the series so far. So you at least have that to your name, but it's got to be a heartbreaking way to round it out. How did Old Atlanta drive in these cars? It seemed like it was a very, very top dominant track and seemed like one that very much split out the pack easily.
Oh, because the iRacing setup sucked, as they always do. Tight as just so unbelievably tight for no reason, because iRacing has to cater it so everybody can drive the car. But if it was loose, I feel like you'd be able to see people going all over the place. But it is such so tight all the way. Nobody was loose. It was just so bad.
I thank you for your restraint. Before we move on, any other thank yous or shout outs?
I mean, I got to give it to Cody there. Cody was sitting that whole time, very patient, and didn't want to rub fenders or anything. Was very patient, very clean. Yeah, I want to thank him for that, and just thank for just Zane, as always, just hanging out, helping me, working together on a couple of those restarts really helped us out.
Well, a P2 finish, an iconic P2 finish for the channel, I must say. So at least take the points, at least take what you can from it. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, for sure. Not the first iconic finish I've been in this league. I lost 1/1000th finish at the beginning of this year. I think like first week in January as part of the preseason race. But both of those were chokes. But hopefully, at least someday, at some point, I'll not choke a race away.
That was Michael Gudger, and we're still waiting to try and get Cody, race winner Cody Gibson down. So I'll give you Jim Duda in P3.
Jim Duda, you are the last driver in our podium position. Talk us through how you approached those last couple laps. Were you hoping for maybe Gibson and Gudger to maybe crash each other out so you could come home for an easy P1?
Well, yeah, yes and no. I had nothing for those two, and I was just begging and praying that they'd take the weight before they wrecked each other. But they prevailed. Podium finish for the Duda Racing 53.
Yeah, P3 is a great result. It's also going to be a huge point haul for your championship battle. If I'm looking at this correctly, I actually don't. So maybe, yeah. So this is just a huge point to start your season off, because I don't believe you raced Daytona unless I'm very hugely mistaken. So what's your mentality now going into the future races?
No, we did not race Daytona weekend. I don't know. A pretty cool driver once said, "Who cares about the championship? We want wins."
Yeah, it always comes back to win, the love of the win, and also that love of racing. So it's great to hear that all of the drivers in SRA, they love that feeling of racing. They love going quick. And before I send you off here, Jim, do you have anyone you would like to shout out or thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my wife for putting up with me, Jared, my crew chief, my co-driver, Green Flag TV, Thomas, SRA, all the guys that make this happen, Paul. Yeah, it's a fun league. Enjoy it here. Yeah, we'll just keep moving forward.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jim Duda. That is our P3 finisher.
One quick
Thanks, guys.
question, Jim. This is just admin.
Yeah.
Can I pull our winner from his channel all the way down there?
Sure.
All right. Well, we're going to pull him out of his conversation for that one then. Well, that's our P2 finisher. Now I have to drag Cody Gibson out of an environment that he wasn't potentially ready to leave quite yet. Discord really just likes inconveniencing you when it comes to dragging people. Can you nail this? Can you pull it off? Do I need to pull our channel down? How do I make this work? He's in the boys channel. He's in the boys channel. He's all the way down there.
Yeah, I see him. I don't know why I said that in a weird accent, but it is locked, so I can't get it. If you want to have a solo interview,
no, I know what I'm doing here. I know what I'm doing here.
Okay.
Discord magic. Cody Gibson, is it okay for us to pull you out of your team channel for a little interview for the win?
What's up, guys?
What a way to finish a tough race here. I bet you can't even believe that you won it that way, but you did a lot of fighting throughout.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a fight. And apologize to Aaron. I haven't went back and looked at the replay if I came up into him or what it. I just apologize for that. But yeah, it was a handful. Kind of saved the tires, and it was kind of tight in 3 and 4, and you'd burn them off.
Your race seemed to be defined by getting right up to people and then not being able to get past them. What was the biggest limiting factor in getting around drivers on the track when it really mattered? Because you were very fast at every opportunity.
It was just so hard to pass. I tried to build runs, then dive to the bottom in 3 and 4. You just couldn't get back in the gas because it was so tight. So I reversed the rows and tried it in 1 and 2. It was the same thing, but definitely there at the end, I thought he had me. I guess he hit the wall or something, because before I passed the finish line, he was in my rearview mirror. So lucky on that.
How was the experience of racing these cars around here in Atlanta for you? How have you been enjoying the new cars?
This is my, I think, second race. I've been in the car 3 times. I honestly don't like them because the way they feel on the straightaways, and some tracks it just feels like they have a dead wheel in the corners. But it's definitely something to get used to. They don't drive like any other car.
Before we let you get back to your team, do you have any other thank yous or shout outs?
For y'all for putting on the broadcast, of course, the league owners, and
well, getting you into this channel was very hard because Discord is making my day hard, so I'm going to let you move yourself back down. But a great win, and hope to see you again on the track soon.
Thanks, guys. See y'all next week.
Well, make that a day on the road. 2 very different races produced by these Gen 4 cars for the SRA series, but there's a real thrill on the track.
Yeah, watching these guys battle it out is so heart racing, and they've really gotten good at keeping these races relatively clean. You know, I remember when I came into casting this series, I was warned that there's going to be a lot of cautions, but as we've seen from these last 2 races, Daytona and Old Atlanta, not easy tracks at all, very difficult tracks, and they've kept it relatively green for at least how the tracks drive. And because of these green flags runs, we are seeing amazing differing strategies and even better racing.
I have a little bit more time to drop my plugs for future races on the channel, so allow me. That's the end of racings today on Green Flag TV, but subscribe because there's plenty more great races to come. The For the Boys Racing League head to Charlotte Motor Speedway tomorrow, and they're joined alongside the next day the High Tide Racing League Guardian Premier Series at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Beer League is at Monza as well, bringing those Super Formula lights down to the Temple of Speed. There's so much more on the channel, and you just need to subscribe to catch all of it down the line. From Howie Burrows and Lucas Moody, I'd like to thank you very, very much for watching this Green Flag TV presentation. We'll see you around on the track sometime.